In 1880, a woman walked into a French doctor's office and calmly told him something impossible. She was already dead. Not depressed, not suicidal, at least not in the way you're thinking. She wasn't speaking in metaphor. She genuinely, completely believed her body no longer existed the way a living body should. No brain, no nerves, no stomach, no intestines, just skin, stretched over nothing. And here's the part that should unsettle you. She wasn't lying, and she wasn't crazy in the way people usually mean that word. She was experiencing one of the rarest, strangest conditions ever documented in medicine. And decades later, it's still happening to people today. It's called Cotard's delusion. And once you understand what's actually happening inside the brain, it stops sounding like fiction and starts sounding like something far more disturbing. A glitch hiding inside the human brain. One that, under the right conditions, could happen to anyone. Doctors eventually realized this wasn't just a bizarre belief. Something much deeper had broken. A system in the brain that normally convinces you you're alive. We'll come back to exactly how that happens. Let's start with that first documented case, because it's still the clearest window into what this actually looks like. The woman is known in medical records only as Mademoiselle X. She told the neurologist Jules Cotard that she had no brain, no nerves, no chest, no intestines, that she was, in her own words, nothing more than a decomposing body. She didn't believe in God or the devil anymore. She believed she had no soul, and because she believed she was already dead, she concluded she didn't need to eat. She stopped eating entirely, and she died of starvation. That alone would be disturbing enough as a one-time medical curiosity. But Cotard's delusion isn't just a strange 19th century case study. It still happens now. In 2005, a man named Warren McKinley was in a serious car crash in the UK, hitting a tree at 60 miles an hour. He survived, but the crash left him with a traumatic brain injury. And afterward, he became convinced that he had actually died in that accident, that he was already dead, and everyone treating him was somehow trying to fix a body that no longer had anyone inside it. He stopped eating and drinking. He lost over 30 pounds. When doctors tried to treat him, he asked them a question that's almost impossible to answer. How could they make him better if he wasn't alive to begin with? So what is actually happening in a brain that produces a belief this specific and this absolute? Here's an obvious question worth asking directly. Mademoiselle X died of starvation. So how do we actually know what's happening inside the brain during this condition? Because this isn't 1880 anymore. Today, doctors recognize Cotard's delusion, hospitalize patients early, and treat them before starvation becomes a serious risk. That means researchers can study living patients over time using modern brain imaging. Using PET and SPECT imaging on these patients, researchers have found something genuinely strange: reduced activity in brain regions responsible for facial recognition and emotional processing, including the area that attaches emotional meaning to a face you recognize, even your own. What's disturbing is that these patients aren't hallucinating. They know they're standing in front of a mirror. They recognize their own face. That's exactly what makes the condition so terrifying. Here's why that matters. When you look in a mirror, your brain doesn't just recognize your face. It attaches a feeling to it, a sense of "this is me." In Cotard's delusion, that emotional connection appears to break. You still see your face, you still see your body, but the feeling of ownership, the sense that it belongs to you and that you're alive inside it, simply isn't there anymore. The strangest part is that doctors don't think the belief comes first. They think the feeling comes first. And when your brain is faced with that gap, a body with no felt sense of life behind it, it doesn't conclude something is wrong with my perception. It concludes something much stranger. This body must actually be dead. It's not a decision. It's not something the person chooses to believe or could be talked out of. It's their brain's best explanation for a sensation that shouldn't be possible to have while still being alive. This is also why the condition is genuinely dangerous and worth taking seriously rather than treating as a strange internet fact. People experiencing it often stop eating, since a body that's already dead doesn't need food. In severe cases, some have attempted suicide, not out of despair the way we usually understand it, but sometimes in an attempt to prove they're already dead, or to escape the horror of feeling trapped inside a corpse that's still walking around. The good news is that it is treatable. Antidepressants, antipsychotic medication, and in some cases electroconvulsive therapy have helped people recover, including regaining their sense of being alive in every sense that matters. Which leaves us with something genuinely hard to sit with. Being alive isn't just a biological fact. It's a feeling your brain generates moment to moment without you ever noticing it's happening. You've never had to consciously confirm that you exist. It's just always been there. For a small number of people, that feeling has switched off completely, and their brain, faced with silence where certainty used to be, drew the only conclusion that made sense of it. There are dozens of neurological disorders that sound impossible until you discover they're real. If that's your kind of rabbit hole, subscribe.